Adi Dewey Dembella. Give me the power, I beg of you.
Welcome back to the Haddonfield Horrors podcast, where we review horror movies and horror movie franchises. I'm Mark,
I'm Tawan.
I'm Rudy.
I'm Maria.
and today we're watching Child's Play 2, which came out in 1990, directed by the late John Laffa, and once again written by Don Mancini. I butchered the director's name. But before we get into any of that, Tawan, can you give the people a plot summary?
Sure. A little over 2 years after the events of the first film, a now 8-year-old Andy Barclay has become a ward of the state after his mother, Karen, was placed in a mental institution after sticking to her story about Chucky in court. CEO of the Playpals Company has the Chucky doll reassembled to show nothing is wrong with it. Doing this reawakens the soul of Charles Lee Ray, aka Chucky, who is now going in search of Andy. Andy, who has been placed in a foster care home by Joanne and Phil, and Andy is also introduced to his rebellious 17-year-old foster sister Kyle, played by Christine Elise. Chucky tracks down Andy and resumes his murderous ways in order to transfer his soul into Andy to become human, leaving Kyle as the only person who can protect Andy and help him stop Chucky.
I have to say right off the bat, rewatching this movie, I got excited because of Christine Elise. I just finished my rewatch of the original Beverly Hills 90210, and she played like a big part in like the second season. She played like the main character's crazy girlfriend who like burnt the float and threatened to kill herself if she got dumped. So I was like, oh my god, I forgot. It's Christine Elise. But I should also say this is my favorite Chucky movie of the entire franchise. I fucking love this movie. But what about you guys? What did you guys think of Child's Play 2 when you watched it for the first time? I watched it for this review. Tawan.
I like Child's Play too. This is another one where I didn't really have to rewatch it because it's one of those the one that I like. I remember this one and the first one like pretty vividly, and watching them. I would like this one a lot, especially the relationship like Andy had with Kyle through the movie. Um, and also being that they weren't actual like siblings, like they were like foster siblings, so like that was like some you don't see that often. And then if you do, they kind of like play it for like trauma value of like the step sibling or whoever being like mean to them.
Like Halloween did.
Yeah, like which like Kyle was like she was like not like mean to him, but she was just kind of like about Andy being there. But like she was never like mean to him, and like she believed him more than the rest of them. But yeah, I did like that aspect about this movie, and then it was also just a good follow up sequel. I will say I was like sad when I first watched it, or like remembering what happened to his mom that she had to get sent to a mental institution because of what happened with Andy. Um, I don't know if they ever like went in depth about that to my knowledge, and because also like the police officer was there, so I'm like, did nobody believe him? Like, what happened to him as well? So that I always kind of wondered that, but um, yeah, good. I would say this is a good sequel and follow up to the first one. I like this.
They better come back for season 2 of the Chucky TV
True.
series.
Yeah, and I will say I like this one. It was a good sequel to the first one, and definitely one that like just is in my memory. So I remember this one a lot, along with the first one.
Maria.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I agree with Tawan about the whole sibling thing they had going on. I thought it was nice. And yeah, and I was because like if you listen in the beginning, they kind of talk about how because like I guess when she was taking them to court and everything, the police at first was backing her up, but then they ended up just staying quiet about it, which I thought was so bogus. Because this lady literally they sent her to to the mental institute, and she loses her son. And I'm like, there's literally like I think there was like what two cops that knew the truth about Chucky, and they weren't gonna like help in any way. But whatever, I guess. I actually thought Chucky was I guess scarier in this movie than the first one. Like his facial features they did like a really good job of that because he just looked really fucking creepy. So I liked it. I liked the movie.
Rudy.
Yeah, I thoroughly loved the movie too. You can definitely tell there was like they had more budget for the sequel. Um, because the first one, even though the production was pretty good too, the second one had more, I guess, higher value with production. And agreeing with what Maria said, Chucky did look a little more cynical in this one, and he had no mercy compared to the first part, which also must I add the kill counts were more better too than and longer than the first part because obviously it was more revolving around Andy, his mom, detective, going on a hunt down for Chucky. But as it progresses to the sequel, you can, you know, you're introduced to more characters and it shows more kill scenes, which I always love, especially the creative aspect that the director incorporated. So yeah.
Yeah, and we also know Chucky's the killer now.
Hmm.
I mean, because the big part of the first movie was like, is it actually Chucky or is it
Hmm.
Andy?
Yeah,
And now
like
we know it's
introducing.
Chucky. So,
Yeah, that's true.
but speaking on the budget, I usually do this at the end, but I couldn't pinpoint the budget because even everywhere I look, it says the budget for the first one was between 9 and 13 million, but the budget for this one is 13 million. So they pretty much had the same budget. I just think by this point they knew where to put most of the money because there were like 9 fucking Chucky puppets.
Hmm.
So that they were able to use the money better this time. But let's talk about the movie. Let's start with our favorite scenes. I think my favorite scene is when he kills the teacher. Only because I felt so conflicted because yes, she was a bitch. But then she had that little moment when she was like crying. She's like, ugh. I'm like, she's the teacher. She just wants to get like just teach you people, and you guys are being horrible. And she getting all like teary eyed, and then he beat her with a ruler. I was like, what the fuck? But what about y'all? What were some of y'all favorite scenes? Rudy?
My favorite scene has to be when Chucky he pretty much broke into their house and he destroyed the original good guy doll that was there, so that he makes it seem like Chucky was that doll all along, and that's how he started, making an appearance in the film. And I think that was a clever way of for Chucky to finally appear and once and for all find Andy, and that was like a grand like surprise to the family overall. So that was my favorite scene. He went batshit crazy.
Maria?
I also did like the scene where he killed the teacher. Not because I felt bad for her, but because I thought the way he killed her was kind of ridiculous. Because I don't know, he like beat her with the ruler, but I feel like that's not like a very deadly weapon to me.
A wooden ruler at that. It was wooden. That shit would have broke.
Exactly. So I was just looking at that like, okay, I don't think it's that serious. But anyway, I also really liked this scene where I think like towards the end, what when they put him in that little machine thing where it starts to like I guess put him together, where it starts to like stick things in him,
Hmm.
and you can hear him screaming, and he's like, "Oh my god, this hurts! Like this is awful!" And then he comes out, and you see this blob of just limbs, and then he just comes out rolling, with like after I guess chopping off his legs or whatever.
And you know what I'm gonna do to you? I'm gonna cut off your legs too.
And I thought that scene was pretty cool, and seeing it was really cool too. I can't imagine how they would have done that. Um, and when he was, I think like before that, when he was trying to transfer his soul into Andy and it didn't work, and then you can see it in his face, he was so pissed, he was so frustrated, and like the the facial features there kind of freaked me out a little bit because I don't, it just looks so real, so it looks so good. But you could see that he was like pissed, and he was like, you know what, fuck this, I'm gonna kill this little kid. It took too long, and yeah.
Tuan.
I I would say I had a couple scenes I like really liked in this movie. One scene I like was honestly the whole just opening montage of them like making Chucky up from scratch, and then like the first like person that died because like he tried to like put him back like when he tried to put him back together, and he got electrocuted. Like that whole sequence though, like him making like the Chucky doll and everything, it was like really nicely shot and everything, and I really liked the way that it looked and how they would like show like the whole process and then putting the doll back together from scratch. Um, Another scene that I did like was when Kyle and Andy were like getting chased through the factory and they were like going up these rollers and like Kyle like slammed the door down on Chucky's hand and he like pulled his hand out and like you could just it looked so like real even though it's like a doll's hand like you could just see it like pulling off like the limbs and everything tendons from that part that was like a good shot. And also one that I liked that was just funny was when he killed the like the foster center lady, and like her face fell on the scanner, and they started printing out pictures of her. I just always thought it was funny.
This movie has a lot of good
It
scenes,
does.
and they're all so memorable too. Like it's an enjoyable movie. Well, not well. You know what I mean. It's a good movie to watch. What you know what I mean. It's a great movie. It definitely improved on the original. But did the but did the characters improve? Actually, no. Before we get to that, what are some scenes you didn't like? Because if I be honest, I didn't like any scenes with the like foster parents. Like they annoyed me every time I saw them on the screen.
Yeah, I
Actually, I
agree.
agree a lot with that. I was gonna say the same. I agree a lot with that. They were so annoying, especially the dad. He was way too annoying.
Y'all got any scenes I don't like?
Um, I think like okay, so I don't like. Okay, I don't want to say I don't like this scene, but I don't like why the characters did this in the scene was like when they first like brought Andy into the house and they had the good guys doll in the closet. I'm like, why would y'all have the doll in the closet knowing that this boy like they had to they know that he went through what he did and they gonna keep a Chucky doll in the house. So I'm like
Yeah, why have it at all?
exactly.
Get
So
rid of it.
that like kind of that just annoyed me on behalf of Andy because I'm like, why would y'all even do that? But I don't think there were any like scenes besides the ones with the like with the parents. I don't think there were any that I pretty much like disliked. Maybe honestly, probably the kill with the teacher because I thought that was like, okay, I thought it was shot nicely. How they kept like going like panning out like each time he like hit her, but um, her like dying like that, I was like, okay, I don't see how that would be possible really. But yeah, I don't think there were any scenes that I would say I really disliked in this movie. I pretty much like most of this movie and don't find any issues with it. It's just the parents, the foster care parents, were just very annoying and they were a drag to watch in the movie. But when they died, I mean, the movie picked up from there once we got in that third act.
I love the last scene, like the big like climactic battle. I just think it goes on too long. I feel like it could have been cut down by like 5-10 minutes. It'd have been perfect. Like I love the final scene, the final battle. It's just too long for me. But other than that, I think I like pretty much. I like the movie. But Maria, Rudy, do you guys have any scenes you guys don't like?
Well, I kind of agree with the ending kind of being too long because I feel like that whole scene where they blow his head off could have definitely not have been there and it would have been great. I also agree about the foster parents. I think they're kind of dumb. Like, because I feel like yeah, because he there was no reason for them to have that doll there. They knew. I'm pretty sure they knew what had caused his trauma. His mom is people are calling her crazy. So why would you have the doll that triggered that there? And then to top it off, they never really threw it away. Like I'm pretty sure he did not have to have this doll. Like I don't know. It was just kind of stupid. I don't know why on earth they would ever do that, especially because they knew that he was already a really traumatized kid. So why would you try to deal with that head on? Like just get the kid a therapist or
Mhm.
something. Um and then like yeah, and the dad never really wanted him in the first place. He was only doing it for like his wife, which I mean I get, like but I also kind of feel like for a kid who's been through so much, you wouldn't want to put them through that, especially when you don't really want them there. Like I mean, he's already going through so much. That's the last thing you want to do. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Honestly, it's just the scenes. I mean, I just agree about the whole like with the foster parents thing. And also that scene with the teacher. It bothers me a lot because I'm like, well, how is she gonna die by getting beat up by a wooden ruler? He wasn't even stabbing her with it. He was just hitting her with it. I don't know. I just it bothered me.
Rudy, you got anything?
Um, I mean, I don't have a scene that I didn't like. I just didn't like a certain character in the beginning when the power surge happens at the factory, at one of the assembly line of workers, and then the executive, I believe his name is Doctor Mister Sullivan. He kind of just acts like a dick towards the other guy, Madison, and he's, I guess, with
Oh, hold
corporate.
that. We're gonna we're
I'm sorry.
gonna we're gonna start Mr. Sullivan in our character section because I got a lot to say about Mr. Sullivan.
Yeah, I don't
He's
like him, but he's like the definition of corporate America. He basically just wanted shit to be covered up. He didn't want a bad reputation, and I just didn't like his attitude. So that's
I
pretty.
I forgot that he survives this movie because he's in part three. I completely forgot he didn't die in this movie. But spoiler alert, he dies in the next one. Because I was waiting for his death scene, and I was like, he not he didn't get wait, what's happening? He not dying. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh shit, that's the next movie. So I was so disappointed the entire like first like 40 minutes waiting for this man to die. I was like, ugh. But Tuan, Maria, what did you guys think about Mr. Sullivan?
Um, I thought, yeah, kind of a lot like what Rudy said just there. He was honestly just in it for, obviously, the corporate aspect of it all, and like seeing that we know Andy's mom took them to court about Chucky, and they got her into a mental institution. They did not give any fucks. They were gonna keep selling those damn dolls for whatever reason. I mean, people are gonna buy, like, even though like after this, even though we didn't know like if we were in that universe what actually happened, but if you see like just watching a movie and you know how like stuff works in the real world, people would definitely buy those dolls even more after hearing that type of stuff, like that type of news.
For that morbid curiosity, it's like, oh, is my doll
Yeah,
possessed
like
too?
people would still like go out and like buy them and everything. So like of course they would keep selling them because like just because of the curiosity of people, plus um that like inkling of an idea that they could possibly like either come alive or something like that, people would just go out and buy them. So that's the only reason why they would keep selling them, because obviously if they weren't in demand, they wouldn't sell them. So they were gonna do it regardless. But the fact that it had to go that way, and then like just how slimy that like he was being, Mr. Sullivan, in the movie about it all, it was just like and then like how like when the fucking worker died in the beginning, like he showed like no remorse. He like literally didn't care. He was just like,
Is this what you call good news? Yes.
Yeah, I
No.
don't think there's anything extra to say about him. I mean, he was only there for like 5 minutes, and all he really did was kind of just care about like how this was gonna look and what other people are gonna think. Um, I mean, he was literally like on his way to go calm down some investors, is what he said.
mm,
So at that point, he didn't give a fuck. He was just like, just cover it up. This death, this person that I just saw die did not just happen. Um, you know, we sent uh, a mother to the mental institute, and he just didn't care. He was like, no, I guess with someone so high up, I guess he just all they really care about is money, which I get. I mean, those dolls, they were like really popular. And I'm assuming when Andy's mom took them to court, they probably became even more popular, so he was gonna sell them regardless. And also, I mean, I'm pretty sure nobody believed her about the whole Chucky thing, the whole being possessed thing. Because, I mean, honestly, if this happened today, I would also not believe them. I'd be like, this lady's crazy, or she's just looking for money or whatever.
I probably would. I don't mess with the voodoo. You never know what the hell going on. I'm just like, nope. Mm-mm. I probably think like the lady, she probably schizophrenic. Like she hearing voices. The doll wasn't alive. She need therapy and medication.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they did to her.
They put her.
you know?
It all fits. It all fits.
I kind of get it, but I get the way they were trying to portray him in the movie. You know, especially like in the beginning, I would have been like, yeah, I kind of get why he doesn't care until like his worker dies, and he was like, just cover it up. I gotta go, and that was it, which made him look a lot worse.
Speaking of workers dying, let's talk about Matson, the guy who Chucky strangled in the car. Now, what's interesting about Matson is that Tawana Maria, we just watched the actor in another horror movie before this.
Which one was that?
You guys remember which one? He was the doctor guy in Wreck. I'm not Wreck, in Quarantine.
Really?
Oh, that was
Yeah, he
him.
was
No
in.
wonder he looked familiar, but I couldn't
Yeah,
pinpoint
that's
it.
yeah, that's him. I was like, oh, he's just so much younger
Yeah.
here. I'm like, but I kind of felt bad for him because Mr. Sullivan was so rude to that man the
Yeah.
entire time. And then he just gets killed in the car. And then Chucky was fucking with him too, like, yeah, I'm not gonna kill you. And then just comes back and suffocates the guy. But what would you guys think about Matson, Maria?
I mean, he also didn't seem like he really cared about like that other worker dying either. He kind of seemed like Mr. Sullivan, except he was a secretary, so I guess like a little mini Sullivan, where he didn't really. He was also just in it for the money. Um, I thought it was interesting because I think this is the first time we've seen Chucky strangle anybody. Like usually he's like stabbing someone, but this time he really like.
How does that work? How does his little like plastic doll hands get a good grip?
I don't.
I feel like that would be like I feel like you can get out of that because there's no way those little doll hands can get perfectly around your neck at the same time,
Right? I feel like his hands are so tiny that if I just
right?
wiggle around a lot, he would definitely lose his grip at some point.
Just make sure your neck is really oiled up that day. That plastic will slip right off.
And also, I'm pretty sure you can just like tear the whatever. Anyway, no, I just thought it was interesting because it was the first time that you kind of see Chucky like strangle someone after being called, the Lakeshore Strangler.
That's true.
And it was kind of like a weird open killing, because it was like, because he was like joking with them. Because he was like, I'm not gonna kill you. And they were just like, for a second, everything was all cool. It was all, they were like just chilling, I guess. And then he just comes up behind him and strangles him. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Um, I mean, I don't really like think of him any more than just like a secretary and then just like Chucky's first kill.
Tawan,
I forget what was the character's name again. I know what we're talking about, but I forgot his name already. Matson.
Matson.
Yeah. So yeah, kind of like Maria said, he was definitely like still trying to like hold up like the corporate end of things. So he like even though like the previous guy was like talking down to him, like he wasn't doing any better in like the instance of it all. So like he was still kind of just like adding on to everything else. Um, and when I always forgot like when I watched that scene that like his hands were tied behind his back because in my mind every time I watch him strangle him with like the bag I'm like can he like poke a hole in that bag or something, but then I his hands are like tied behind his back so he couldn't really do anything anyway but just die. But yeah, he was kind of just there, and then he got taken out immediately by Chucky.
Rudy.
Um, hmm. Well, he's not like someone I cared for in the movie. He was just like the what do you call it when they're like building up the suspense and the kills? Well, he was the first kill, right? So
Hmm.
basically, he
Just part of the body count.
Pretty
yeah,
much.
part of the body count. But I don't know. I don't honestly. I don't have nothing to say about him because he didn't have enough screen time for me to like get to know him as a character. Besides that bit where he was talking to the boss, the CEO, or what is it, the executive, and even then, going back to like Maria's comments about him seeming like he didn't care, I think he did care. He just had to, kind of fake it because that's his job, and he wasn't. It was in jeopardy. Had he gone against it and against his boss's wishes, he probably would have been fired. I mean, didn't the guy even tell him like, "Oh, if you don't take care of it, don't bother coming back" or some shit like that? I forgot, but like I guess he was just doing his job, and well, I did kind of care because he was on his way out, and he had gone to the liquor store and all that, and he was just having a shit day. So I do feel bad about him for his character, but not enough for me to like have a deep conversation about him.
All right, let's talk about Joanne, Andy's foster mom. Did not like her at all. Like she was useless. Let's talk about his foster parents together because I just didn't like either one of them. What'd you guys think of his foster parents? Rudy?
Well, his dad, the stepfather, was annoying since they were at the orphanage, and he was like
Are we even qualified to take care of a boy like this?
questioning his parenting skills. Like, bro, you're about to adopt a kid. Like, you have the first one adopted, the older girl, and now it's like if you have to question yourself as a parent, and if you can handle a kid, um, with Andy's needs and whatever he was going through, then maybe you should reevaluate your parenting techniques as a whole. So I didn't like him for shit. The stepmom, she was, uh, I guess, okay. She wasn't like my favorite character. She's clearly not like Andy's real mom, so no one could ever compare to her. But that's all I have to say about them both, really.
Come on.
Yeah, I also wasn't a big fan of either of them. They were both just they're both annoying in like their own like ways. The stepdad definitely more annoying than the mom was. Just because like he was just very like rude for no reason. Like it's like Andy's like a kid who obviously went through some traumatic stuff, and even if you don't believe it or not, like what he went through, either way, he has like trauma and from like what just happened to him like previously, and like his mom getting taken to a mental institution and stuff. So you would think them having a child like getting the child like that in their care they would like show some compassion, but he was more worried about them damn figures in the front room than he was Andy and how he was doing and stuff, and like wasn't trying to like help him in any way, like just like either yelling at him or telling him what not to do, but not trying to actually help. And then the mom was just kind of like complicit with it. She was just kind of like there, like following along with it. Like you obviously tell, like it looked like at points she wanted to like speak up or something more, but like she just didn't. She just kind of like went about it and went along with her husband. And then you saw like towards the ending, like they were just gonna like give him up anyway. So, but then they ended up they ended up just getting like dying or whatever. But I mean, I wasn't mad at Chucky for taking out the dad. To be quite honest with you, um, the mom probably didn't need to go, but I mean, she was kind of complicit too. So
I kind of think that, like, I mean, so obviously the dad didn't want to foster another kid. Like you could tell from the beginning, because he kept asking questions and he was just like, I don't know if we could do this. Which, to be honest, I kind of get, because I wouldn't want to like, because I feel like putting a kid who's been through so much trauma into a family that doesn't exactly want him. Well, not well. Obviously, I didn't mean obviously like she wanted him, but he was kind of iffy about it. Was not great for them, and I feel like I mean it wouldn't be great for either of them because I mean I'm pretty sure because he didn't really want having the kid there, he's not going to actually try to help him in the way that Andy needed it, and I mean I think the only one who was really excited about it was just the mom, but like I'm not sure if it was like a whole, like yeah, like like I want to help the kid, or if it's more of like I'm pretty sure I can fix him, especially with having the doll there. I'm pretty sure they wanted to in some way help him with his trauma, but at the same time though it's kind of like yeah, like you're not qualified to handle a kid's trauma. Like they should have given him to a family who had some type of background of handling kids who have been through some shit, Because I'm pretty sure like it's different between handling him and handling Kyle, who's more mature and she kind of already like I mean, I'm not sure what her story is, but I don't think it's like I'm just pretty sure it's different between handling both of them.
Yeah.
So I think they were just both in it for their own reasons that may come off a little selfish, I guess. And yeah, and I agree with what Tawan said about um crap, I forgot what you said. Um, um damn it, it was right in my head and I forgot. Anyway, well, I agree with something that you said. But I mean, yeah, I just don't think that I mean, I'm kind of glad. Okay, no, no, no. I'm not glad that Chucky was killing people, but when like the dad when he was hanging off the stairs and Chucky looks at him and he like talks to him and then like and you see his face and you're like, yeah, that's right, bitch. You should have believed Andy. Now look at you, you're dead. um, and I guess kind of the same thing ish with the mom, though not really. I kind of felt bad for her. Um, yeah, I don't know. I didn't like him.
What about Miss Kettlewell? I felt so bad when he beat her to death with that ruler, mostly because just thinking about like he beat her to death with a ruler. Like that had to like to take a while.
She asked for it. I don't feel bad.
I mean, she was a rude teacher, but like they had that little moment when she was just like overwhelmed and she was like sniffling. I'm like, you know what? Being a teacher must be hard. Dealing with people's badass, rude kids. Like that had to be a lot. And then he stabbed her with the pump, and then he beats her to death with the ruler. That had to take a that little plastic doll is beating this woman with a wooden ruler. That had to take a long ass time. So like that had to be agonizing. I feel bad for Miss Kettlewell. R.I.P. But what do you guys think of Miss Kettlewell?
She ain't shit. She treated Andy like shit, and I don't feel bad for Chucky beating her to
Andy,
death. So,
in her defense, she just thought Andy was a precocious little brat. In her defense,
well, I mean, shit. Andy was going through it, and the lady was just, I don't know. And plus, she looked mean and bogus, so that just like takes more points off her. And you defending her and and feeling bad for her isn't gonna like solve it. No.
But she
Stop.
literally met him for like 5 minutes, and she was like, "I bet you're a brat." She didn't even actually
Yeah,
talk to him.
based it off.
She had him
No, for real.
pegged.
That's because he was an
Exactly.
adorable kid and she was a hater. So, I mean,
Exactly.
I can't believe what I'm hearing. Tuan, please tell me you
Yeah,
have.
actually, I don't care for her.
Wow, all three of you. I'm so disappointed right now.
Well, hold on.
Like, I get what you mean about her being a teacher and all, but like, she wasn't like. It wasn't like she was like this like really good teacher like in the beginning that was like super like nice skin like, oh, Andy, like blah 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 blah, like she was immediately like on that
hmm
with him. I'm like, why are you on that? Like, he didn't even do nothing
Just
yet. Like,
because he
damn,
has
bitch
a
cannot breathe.
traumatic background does not mean that he gets to be a precocious little badass.
But he wasn't. He was
right.
literally the guy behind him was like messing with him. He talked first of all, he talked for like a second. And she was like, "Why are you even talking? Like you shouldn't be acting that way."
Yeah, just finding reasons to talk shit to him. Like, girl,
She was just trying to
She
make
was on a
sure that
power
he
trip.
knew.
gee,
She was trying to make sure that he knew who the fuck was in charge. All right.
And as a teacher, you shouldn't. I feel like it's ridiculous to do that to an 8-year-old child
yeah,
who just went through trauma,
that's bullying.
who just moved in.
Had she done that nowadays, she would have been canceled. So,
Ugh. She was a teacher from
No,
a different
you
era.
know what,
All right.
Marcus?
I
Let me
stand.
explain to you why she deserved it. Besides the whole Andy thing, hold on. So, okay, so she keeps him after school, right? First of all, she locks him in the fucking classroom. And that's kind of weird. Especially because he's 8. Two, when Andy leaves and she comes back and she hears that that closet moving, which she had just locked. She just locked that fucking closet. It didn't occur to her of like, how is Andy in this closet and locked himself in this closet when I have the key? But she's over here yelling at Andy like, Andy, why are you in there? Come out. You see the fucking door's locked. You didn't even, okay, whatever, fine. Then she unlocks the door and there's nobody in there. Like she was trying to open it, figured out that she couldn't open it, and went ahead to go unlock it. There's no actual lock in that on that door where like he could have like locked himself from like the inside. It made no sense why Andy would be in there and why the door would be locked and why he wouldn't be able to get himself out. So she was stupid enough to unlock the door and like check inside and check everything to make sure he's not in there, which obviously he wasn't. And then she got killed. So it's kind of her fault. She kind of did it to herself.
Also, what authority did she have to lock him in a room? Like, she I really I don't think you can just lock a child in the room.
I think that's like a fucking fire hazard, isn't it? Like, what if a fire
It
breaks
is a
out?
fire hazard.
Because like there were like bars on. He couldn't even climb out the window. Like there was a fire broke out. Like the kid would have died. But either way, R.I.P. Mrs. Kettlewell. But
Rest in peace.
let's move on to Kyle, Andy's foster sister. I loved Andy's foster sister. This I saw the Chucky movies after I saw the Halloween franchise, and this was like giving me flashbacks to Halloween Halloween 4, where we meet like uh Laurie's daughter, and now she's now has this cool blonde foster sister who also had like short blonde sort of wavy hair. So for me, I was like, what the fuck? Now here's another like short blonde wavy hair foster sister to some fucked up kid. I was like, okay, but Kyle was cool, and she was whooping Chucky's ass at the end. I low key thought she was gonna die when the whole like that scene when she was on the conveyor belt and it was like poking eyes. I was like, oh shit, it's gonna get her in the eye. It's gonna get Kyle. No. But what did you guys think of Kyle, Rudy?
Kaya's a baddie. I mean, what is there not to say that's bad of her? I enjoyed her character development throughout the movie. Sorry, I'm a zombie right now because I'm tired. So let me repeat that again. I like Kyle. I enjoyed her character development during the movie. And not to like jump ahead, but I love her character in the series too. I'm glad she made a comeback with Andy. Um, she kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you guys have seen like the '90s movies, like The Faculty or Girl Interrupted with Winona Ryder. But that one girl with short hair,
I love Girl
yeah, the
Interrupted.
her roommate that has like the short hair, she's like the pathological liar. She reminds me so much of her. Like,
Definitely.
I don't know if it's just the hair or just the attitude in general, but yeah, I like her character a lot, and I can't wait to see her if they ever decide to like release season two, which I think you asked or mentioned earlier. They're filming it or they're starting developing it. I don't know, but
Uh, yeah, they're in
yeah,
pre-production of season
yeah.
two.
So hopefully she's in it again and kicks ass again. So yep, that's all I have to say about her.
Tawan.
Yes, also love Kyle. Kyle's a great character. And I just like the relationship like she had with like Andy throughout the movie. Like she actually like she really did just take up like the mantle of like being a big sister to Andy. And like even though this situation is probably like the weirdest shit you could ever get in with someone you just met like a couple weeks ago, she took it well and did what she had to do to like get Andy out of the situation and also just going through with it because honestly I don't know if I could have went through with it and helped them out like that. I probably would have ran, to be quite honest. uh, I don't know if I could have gone through with it. Like this little doll, like I don't know, but and like Kyle's way better than I would be in that situation. But I really liked her, and I liked the actress that played her. Like she just had like this kind of edge to her that just kind of like stuck with you, and she and like the actress just kind of brought that to life for the character, and I don't have anything bad to say about her. Like like Rudy said, like Kyle's a baddie. She did what needs to be done. She came through and helped Andy, and in the end, like played up to her big sister role that she was like given by the foster parents.
Maria.
I did like her a lot. I liked that she played that like big sister role to Andy. I think it's it's kind of what he needed. He needed someone to believe him. But there are two scenes that she was in that I was like, what the fuck? Like the scene where, I think it's like the first time where Andy sees Chucky and Chucky has him tied to the bed. Right? And then she
Yes.
comes in and she's like untying him, and then the parents come in and they're seeing her untying this 8-year-old boy from the bed, and he looks weird as fuck, because both of his feet and hands are tied. And they're like, "What are you doing?" Whatever. And then it literally just cuts to them going to school the next day. Is nobody was gonna talk about that? Like I don't know. I just thought it was kind of weird. Like, first of all, Kyle looks suspicious as fuck there. And even if Kyle didn't do it, how the fuck is this 8-year-old kid gonna do it himself? I don't know. It was just weird. It was a very weird scene, I think. Um, and the scene um where her and Chucky are in the car and she like slams on the brakes and he goes flying out and she like um tries to like run him over and tries to hit him with the car. I don't get why she took so long to like wait to see what's gonna happen or why she got out of the car. I'm like just go. Like just start running. Get out, run, or just reverse and go around the block or something. I don't know, but like get away from this doll. Um but I mean other than that, I thought she was like a really good character. Cause I mean, like the mom, she was, fighting Chucky. She was trying to save Andy no matter what, especially because she only knew Andy for like what was it, like a week or like a couple days. Um and but she, she tried to help him as much as she could. I feel like a lot of people would have been like, that's your problem. Good luck, Andy. I'm so sorry. Um Not that I would have done it, but it would have crossed my mind. Because there's a live doll killing people. Anyway, um But I mean, I thought she was like a really great character. I really liked her.
So do I. I like Kyle. But what about Andy? What you guys think of Andy this time versus his first appearance last time? He's a little bit older, a little bit more involved. Maria.
I liked him this time around. It seems like he's kind of learning from like the first time that Chucky tried to kill him. It seems like this time he was trying to be proactive, but he could only do so much because he is just 8. Um, you could definitely see some like character growth, and I like it because it's not like dramatic. It's kind of subtle in like a couple ways. Like that scene where the dad had like thrown Chucky down into the basement. And then Andy want to go like cut him up. Like instead of having waiting for Chucky to come to him, he went to Chucky. I thought that was really very good of him because to be honest, I would have done the same thing. Um, and I liked how he wasn't like he already had the idea that nobody was gonna help him, so he was trying to do kind of everything himself. Um, which I think is kind of like a good idea to have, because I think he even said it in the movie, like, who's gonna believe me that this doll is trying to come back to life and kill me? Um, so I definitely liked him this time around. It definitely seems like he learned from the first movie.
Tuan.
Yeah, I also like Indy in this one. I agree with Rhea there that yeah, he definitely like seemed way more proactive in this one. Like in the scene where he was like going to the basement to like check out what was going on, and he brought like a weapon with him. And even though like he got caught by like the dad who thought like he was like pointing a weapon at him, like he was actually just looking for Chucky, and he was just being like more proactive, like checking things out and like double checking things, and um, he just knew what to expect this time around and like what Chucky was like trying to do. So like he went into most instances where even if he didn't know if the good guy doll was actually Chucky, like he was just expecting it to be Chucky because I mean there was no way for him not to know unless he actually saw something going on. And like besides like Kyle, like he was the only one that was gonna have a chance of getting out because like once Kyle saw what was going on and didn't die immediately, she was able to help him out. But Andy did what he had to do in this one definitely, and like way more proactive. He knew what to expect this time going around into everything, and um, I mean he got out alive again.
Rudy.
I don't know because since the first part up until, and again I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna forward this franchise, but you can tell that the writers are their intentions were to allow the audience to see the growth that Andy's showing from day one that he met Chucky up until the end. He went from this like innocent, kind, wimpy little kid, and he eventually started growing and growing, and well, not growing, but evolving mentally and physically, ultimately to defeat Chucky. So, with that said, in part two, I did see a lot more of a mature side that we didn't see in the first part. He was more experienced. He kind of already had an idea of what to do and what to avoid as far as Chucky being in the way. So it clearly worked out in his favor, even up until the series. Flash forward, and I think the intention was for the audience to get to see that of Andy, that he was evolving and he wasn't just gonna back down no matter how much shit he's been through. So I give props to the writer for Child's Play 2 and the way he portrayed Andy to be. He was he was finally facing Chucky without having to be like afraid. And well, in the beginning he was kind of afraid, right? Because he was like still going through it, but then towards the end of the movie he built that courage up. So
I like Andy. He was kind of annoying, but he's also a kid. Kids are annoying. But I think the actor did a great job. He definitely got better since the first movie. So it was a bit of improvement. And I was, after watching two, I was excited to see where this version of Andy was going to go. But are we going to get that next movie? We'll see. But let's go to our last character, Charles Lee Ray, aka Chucky. Now I want to talk about his like re-resurrection scene. What'd you guys think about that? Because I don't know how. Well, I see again. I'm getting it mixed up with part three because part three is when. No, it's this. No, 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 no. Scratch that. Let's scrap that. What'd you guys think of Chucky's re-resurrection scene?
Um, actually, as far as how this scene looks, I actually did like that scene when they like put them back together and everything. I liked have said at the beginning, that was like kind of one of my favorite scenes of that whole sequence of them putting like the doll back together and everything. I like that one a lot. But how he actually got resurrected, honestly, was just by it was just luck, because that like electricity came out of nowhere and like brought him back basically, which isn't like really explained, but we like at a certain point I also like didn't care as well because I'm like, I mean, they do voodoo anyway. Like it doesn't really matter at this point. He's a walking doll who kills people. So my like sense of belief is already out the window with the concept. So it doesn't even matter how they bring him back for me. I just as long as he's like back. But Chucky in this movie, like he was definitely like he was good with like the kills and everything. Everything as far as like his kills and stuff were good. Like Maria said, like there in the beginning, we got him actually strangling someone as being the Lakeshore Strangler from the first movie. But also we did see like a little more like quippiness in there, but it wasn't like stepping like into like the boundaries as it does in like the third one, because I do remember that one being like way more quippy for like no reason. But like when it was like here, it was like that. It was like good dark humor though that like went along with what was happening. So it worked for me in this one a lot more than I remember working in like some of the ones after this one. But overall, I did like Chucky, and like he was just way more, I guess, like ferocious in a way, especially in that in the third act when they were in the factory. Like he was like trying to everything to get like Andy, and then especially once he actually completed the ritual, and then he was like out of time, and he was just like going ape shit at that point to like get to like to kill Andy and Kyle. We hadn't seen him that mad since like the end of the first one, but he was like really mad this time around. He then put that like the knife in his like stub of an arm that was left so that he could like use it as a weapon.
Rudy.
Chucky, like I said again with my reviews on characters, he evolved since the first part. I think he was more reckless, more spineless. He was violent. He was angry. He was determined to get to Andy, and it showed. And his anger also was expressed through his killings, which I liked a lot. I'm always gonna be a fan of really creative kills in movies because the first one just didn't. I feel like the first one lacked, but then again, I'm too spoiled with movies. I guess I just grew up watching like the gore and the violence and blah blah blah. But there's nothing much I can say of him. But I want to chime in on what Tawan said for the scene in the beginning, his resurrection. I I've always been skeptical about it because okay, in order for him to successfully be in the doll, he has to have the heart of Damballa. Why wasn't it there when he got electrocuted back into like he got resurrected, and I was just like, okay, where's the amulet? Like he clearly wants it, or he needs it so bad. Like where is it at? But like you guys said, it's all voodoo, you know, etc. So it kind of makes sense, but then again, he needs the damn fucking thing in order for his body to get back into the doll, or anyone's soul for that matter. So
I mean, by the end of the series, they're reading Voodoo for Dummy books, so I think they kind of get fast and loose with the voodoo rules. So, but what about you, Maria?
I mean, in like Chucky in this movie, he was violent to me. I think he was just desperate, you know. Um, he was like desperate to get Andy because I mean, he was running out of time. Like you can see, I think like towards like what the middle of the movie that he was already bleeding. He was already kind of changing back into being a human. So he was, he obviously didn't want to get stuck, being a doll. So yeah, and because in the first movie he was trying to be a little like hidden. He wasn't killing as many people. He was just kind of killing people who were kind of in his way. But I feel like in this movie he was just kind of killing anybody he could, like anybody he had the chance to. Cause like I'm pretty sure once they like took Andy, he didn't have to kill, you know, the mom. He didn't really have to kill that like secretary guy, I feel. He was just kind of yeah, he was pissed. He wanted his fucking body back. I mean, I feel like it's understandable. I wouldn't want to be stuck being a doll for so long. Um and in the end when he realized that he was too late, that was kind of like it was I feel like that's all I mean, that scene to me was like a great scene because you can just see him go, yeah, he went fucking crazy because he was like, fuck, I'm stuck in this fucking doll. Like, fuck this. And he was just going, trying to kill Andy, trying to kill Kyle. And honestly, I'm pretty sure like if he would have um, been able to like walk out of there, he would have been killing everybody and anybody he saw because, I mean, fuck it at this point.
Okay, but what do you guys think about Chucky overall this season? Was it an improvement? I mean, this movie was an improvement over the last one. Maria, let's go with you.
I mean, killing wise, I guess, because he killed more people. You kind of saw a little bit more of him. But I also kind of feel like because he was just desperate and because he was like pissed, that you mostly just saw that, you know. Um, so I guess it was. I mean, I guess it was an improvement. He looks scarier to me in this movie than in the first one, to be honest.
Rudy.
the movie was obviously a big improvement. Not saying that the first one wasn't good, but like I said, the production was great. The visuals, like Maria said, Chucky was kind of made into this like more sinister looking doll compared to the first one. And whoever, like whatever artist made him up, or you know, they did a great job with the effects. Um, they did their best to not show the what do you call those people that like are secondary actors? A double, like
Oh, the
Supporting.
stunt
no, like a
doubles.
double for Chucky, because obviously in some scenes he's like
Uh,
walking or running, and it's obviously not the doll running, and you can tell like the first scene, the first part. I mean, when Andy was in that jail cell, and you can see Chucky like climbing on the bed, but obviously it's a human pretending, it was playing Chucky, but you can tell. And that's kind of like it ruins the whole thing, in my opinion. But the second part didn't show much of that, which is even better because it focused on Chucky the doll, not the double, the stunt double. And I love the movie. The movie's a classic. It's a 1990, 2 years before I was born. So hey, even better.
Tuan.
I would say definitely, yeah, I would say a bit of an improvement from the last one. The animatronics basically definitely looked a bit more better this one, and like Maria mentioned a couple of times, it's like facial expressions in this movie looked like way more like realistic and like definitely more menacing, especially towards the end when he was just like pissed off, like when he like wasn't able to go through with the voodoo spell for Andy's body to get transferred over. So it definitely looked like way better, and you could tell they put like a lot of production in. I think you said Mark that he had like 9 dolls this time around.
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, they definitely like put like a lot more time into like the Chucky dolls, like how many they had to work with and everything. But it definitely like paid off, and um, it also just goes to show like it's you can't like beat like doing like the physical like puppeteer type work for these type of roles, and like how they use kind of like forced perspective type shots and stuff to get like those shots of the of the other actors who were like playing his doubles and everything. So they did a good job with that all around. And also, yeah, I do think he was a little bit better here. Of course, higher kill count, um, never a bad thing. So I was a fan.
Yeah, I think I like Chucky. I mean, we see more of Chucky this movie, and we see more of his personality. He was like so hidden and like mysterious that first movie. So I was happy we were able to get to see more of him and more of his personality like shine through, and got to see his. We actually got to see the creative kills because I feel like most of the kills in the first movie were off screen or below screen. So I enjoyed it. This is a big improvement overall. But we're not done yet, folks. I'll give you guys some behind the scene facts. The budget for this, like I said earlier, was 13 million, and they ended up making 35.8 million in the box office. And some other facts. In the original script, both the detective and Andy's mom were due to reprise their roles. I couldn't figure out exactly why, but that ended up never happening. So they had to do a bunch of script rewrites. And it's interesting that his mom didn't come back, even though the actress was pretty much on set every single day that they were filming part two, because her
Really?
husband was one of the animatronic operators for the Chucky doll.
Hmm.
So she was there, but she didn't want to act in the movie. Like, lady, that could have been 2 paychecks y'all was bringing home for Child's Play 2. Like, she was fucking around.
Maybe she had like a different movie or something to an obligation to focus on. But like
He
you said,
needed,
if she was on set every day, she clearly wasn't doing shit with her life, and she was just trying to.
yeah,
Her
like,
man was trying to bring the
right?
table, money to the table, and she was just using him. That's my only
He
implication on that.
he needed to Ike Turner her ass and make her ass get in that set. Like, get that goddamn
Will
script.
Smith.
What are you doing? Because I'm looking it up, and like around that time, like she was in one movie. Well, this because they had this movie came out in Child's Play 2 came out in November of 1990. That means they were probably filming this like late '89. Yeah, I'm looking at principal photography started in November 6th, 1989. So they started filming pretty much a year before the movie came out.
That's so crazy.
And
Sorry to interrupt, but like before I forget, after Child's Play 2 was released, 9 months after Child's Play 3 was released, and it's so crazy how fast that shit works. And you mentioned,
like back to back.
yeah, like
I mean, I think I think it helps that it's one writer for all the movies, so
That's
they
true.
don't they don't have to like get somebody else to like do a script and then go over a bunch of revisions and
yeah,
make sure they actually saw the first fucking movie. So I guess that helps.
yeah,
But then besides her being on set, um, the whole idea with the corporate company and Mr. Sullivan and all that came because the writer's dad worked in advertising and marketing. So that expired the whole like corporation behind the Good Guy doll.
Mm.
And also the director for this movie, whose last name I completely butchered, he he went on to direct a couple like small movies here. He directed a couple episodes of the Dead Zone TV series, Babylon 5. But also, he tragically died just about 2 years ago. He died April 2020 from suicide.
Oh man.
Yeah. And our last interesting fact is that Brad Dourif, the voice actor who plays Chucky, he pre-recorded all his lines like at the start of production because they wanted to have the playback in the scene
Hmm.
with the actors. So when we're hearing Chucky talk to the actors, that's also what they were hearing in scene for the first time because they wanted their actual reaction instead of having to do like ADR later.
Yeah,
That's it.
And ADR is very noticeable.
it is in some movies.
Like they try so hard to hide ADR sometimes. And because I know more about movies now, I can spot it more. I'm just like, oh, that was bad. Because I was watching some TV show and it was from like 2003. And the actress clearly said a different line and it wasn't even the same syllables. And I was like, that didn't even look like y'all didn't even try. So I'm
I
glad they
think
actually had the actual thing.
I think what you said they did for this movie, I think they still do that for the Chucky movies, if I recall. Because I think when I was
Yep,
watching behind the scenes for the show, they were talking about he recorded everything, but they just played it on set.
yep. And it works. It works better that way because the actors actually get to react to what he's saying and how he's saying it.
Yeah,
But let's get to some critic reactions. This movie currently has a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. Bloody Disgusting says that the movie surpasses the original film. Child Play 2 manages to strip away all artifacts and still manages to be an effective slash movie. Variety wrote Child Play 2 is another case of rehashing the few novel elements of the original movie, but has no point and is completely and utterly numb, which I completely disagree with. Like, what the fuck? This is better
yeah,
than the original.
that's a
And
boring take.
yep, and then a critic, Gene Siskel, gives the movie a 0 out of 4 stars, calling
Damn,
it a vicious, ugly little thriller. Like, who hurt him? Jesus
a
Christ.
zero?
A 0 and call it vicious and ugly. Like,
Sheesh.
wow. But forget about Gene and all of them. I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys give Child's Play 2 a cash or pass? Tuan?
I give Child's Play 2 cash. it was definitely it definitely was like a very good sequel. Which horror sequels they can either go one or two ways, and this one it built up on what we already knew going into it, and also just we didn't have to toy around with the fact that if Chucky was real or not, or if he was alive or not this time. We just knew going into this one, so we knew what to expect, and we got a higher kill count because of that, and then we got returning character Andy, and then we also got new character in Kyle, and it all just added up really good. And I even though it did last long, I did like the third act of this movie a lot, taking place in the toy factory. It was just different, from what you're used to, and actually it was very colorful too for a horror movie. Like the ending, it was very colorful, and it was a lot very contrasty and stuff and bright going into the ending. So I did like that as well, and I just think it was just a really good sequel. And compared to what we're gonna get into a little later with some of the sequels, you can't go wrong with this one.
Maria, do you cash or pass and why?
Um, I'll give it cash. I think the movie, like the first, I think feel like if it was coming out in theaters, or if or if it came out on on DVD or something, or um, I it was a good follow up to the first movie. I feel. Um, I think the way the story flowed was really. I feel like it was really good. Especially with Andy's de- um development, and then also with Chucky, because you see him go from in the beginning of the movie, he's kind of playing games a little bit, but now in this movie he's like, okay, I really need to get turn my shit up, and you see him get more violent. So I feel like it's I feel like it kind of goes, and I liked it.
Rudy, do you cash or pass? And why?
I pass. I'm kidding. I cash. And why? Cause the movie's a shit. Like I said, it's a classic, and I don't think any remake, no shade, would ever live up to the hype and expectations. And yeah, there's no other way to sum it up. I love the movie. I like the atmosphere. Like the one said, it was kind of colorful, but I think that just made it more childish, kind of like it's meant to be like a toy movie, really, like like a kids movie, but horror version. So it attracts the kids, and then imagine that being a kid and be like, oh, look at that, and it ends up being Chucky and him killing off all these characters. So yeah, cash all the way, cash out.
And for me, it's also Cash. This is my favorite movie of the franchise. I think this is the best it gets, and nothing beats this. Not even the original, in my opinion. This is definitely Cash. It's a great movie, and I kind of can't wait to see what Maria thinks of part three because she said she hasn't seen it before. So, also can't wait for you guys to hear what you guys think about part three because part three is the same, but it's kind of different. But it's also the start of the more comedic side of Chucky in the Child's Play series. Is that good? Is that bad? We will find out next week. Thank you guys for listening. The Haddonfield Horrors Podcast is a Letters to Media production.
Should we do an intro?